I'm so glad you've all enjoyed this trip we had to the Okanagan. And what a trip it's been. We've played 6 rounds in 4 days surrounded by absolutely beautiful views. Starting with Tobiano, then on to Gallagher's Canyon, Two Eagles, Tower Ranch, Harvest, and finally today at Predator Ridge, one of the top ranked courses in Canada. And a special shout out to Predator for welcoming us with such open arms. We've played over 15 courses on the channel, and while most were happy to have us, unfortunately my home course of Shaughnessy has decided that they don't want me filming there anymore. So now more than ever, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel. We're closing in on 10,000 subscribers, and the more of you who follow, the more I'm able to get out to other courses and film. We decided to play the blue tees at Predator, playing at about 6,700 yards, and with a pretty tough rating. But I find this course plays a bit easier than the rating, and this tee shot on one is one of the only ones all day that plays uphill. I left myself with a mid-iron in here, even though I can't quite see the green. And this winds up in a delicate spot above the hole. It almost drops, and I have no problem tapping in for par on one. How's this for an ego boost? This tee box is so elevated that you can tow it and hit it almost 300 yards. On this downhill lie, I absolutely shanked this one. You can see I'm not too thrilled. And with this pitch, I'm really just trying to make sure that my next shot is a putt. I wind up with about 25 feet here, and this is a great omen for the rest of the round. This drive on 3 is certainly not my best, but it's in play. And with the uphill approach shot here, I'm all over the flagstick, and I wind up in a great spot putting for bird. I underread it just a bit, but I'll take another par. This is another bad drive that is nonetheless in play. Hybrid is more than I wanted in here, and this is also a blind shot. And it winds up at about 50 feet. And this is a really, really bad lag putt. I'll wind up with another 15 feet or so here. And I pull it just a hair left. And that's my first and only 3-putt of the day. This is a beautiful downhill par 3. I didn't quite know what club to hit. I went with the 3 hybrid that lands by the pin but releases about 45 feet past the pin. And that's a pretty decent lag putt, and no problem with another par. This is the most downhill shot on the golf course, and my 10-bell drive adds up to almost a 350-yarder. But that doesn't mean anything if you can't convert on the 60-yard pitch. Unfortunately, I put it over the green, and this chip coming back isn't too fantastic either. So after a 350-yard drive, we make bogey from 60 yards. On the 7th hole par 5, I finally find my groove with driver. But I followed up with a pretty unspectacular forward here. So I didn't really want 160 in, but those are the breaks. This one works out really well, and I'll have another good look at bird. Misses just a hair low, and will tap in for par. On the long par 3 8th, I opt for the hybrid again, and once again it pitches at the pin and goes over the green. This chip got kicked a little bit more than I thought it might, and I'll have 6 or 7 feet to tidy up for par here, and I make it. This is a very gettable par 5, but I don't hit the best drive, and am forced to lay up here. I think the shot tracer was a bit generous showing the ball flight on that one. But nonetheless, I'm inside 100, and after fatting the last shot, I thin this one over the green. And this was one that I really had eyes on making, but I was too aggressive with it and put it past the hole. And I'm forced to settle for bogey here. And what a funny front 9 that was. There were quite a few bad shots. A bad drive, a shanked approach, some thinned wedges, some bad chips, and a 3-putt. But I avoided double bogeys, and after all was said and done, I'm only 3 over heading into the back.
Yeah.
I didn't quite know what the target was here, and I hit a really lousy drive. I end up with about 145 in, and it's playing 20 yards uphill, and I'm determined to get my ball past the pin. But I'm not really committed to the 5 hybrid either. I wind up in a lousy spot where I chip it over the green. This lag putt is the only decent shot I hit on the hole, and I'm happy to GTFO with a bogey. It was on this hole that I realized I was scoring way better than I was playing, and I started taking some free swings, and good things started happening. A couple of good shots left me with a 60-yard pitch into the green. This one checked up on the upslope, but nonetheless I'm putting for birdie. And I cozy up the 20-footer pretty close and tap in for par. That was my best iron strike of the day. It's all over the flagstick and actually had a chance of going in, before releasing about 15 feet past the hole. That putt's fine, and it's just another par. On the final par 5 of the day, I hit a pretty decent drive, but I end up missing this forward in a common way I have lately with a pretty lousy top. I grabbed extra club on this uphill approach, and I hit it pretty lousy, but it does catch a piece of green. And with this 30-footer, I hit it pretty well and managed to tidy up for par. A decent enough drive, and I grab a whole lot of club for the approach here. But get this, it's all over the flagstick and releases to 6 feet, and we make our first bird of the day. How about that Tiger-esque walk back?
That was so loud and so well timed that I feel like it must have been intentional. Yeah. Good shot.
This one is pretty decent. About 30 feet for birdie now. It's a little short, but we will tidy up for par. There's an aggressive line at the green here, but I decide to just hit a hold-off driver, knowing that it will leave me a flip wedge in. This one was on line, but it checks up a bit upon hitting the green. And with about 15 feet, we get it close enough to tap in for par. 17 and 18 are 2 very tough closing holes. You have to take on a bit of water here, and I did just that. And with about 170 in here, I hit a pretty good one that lands just short left. And there's my second shank of the day. I can't lie, I was definitely thinking about my score a bit on this hole. And suddenly double bogeys in play after a bad putt. But I do manage to make bogey. 18's a pretty tough closing hole. Your drive really needs to be in a decent spot. Mine's all right, and from the rough at about 160, I'm happy enough to put one on the green. And this lag putt is a bit short, but I do manage to tidy it up for one more par. So let's recap this one. A 76 and a 3.7 differential is a very good day for me, and it's a pretty clean card looking at it. But if I recap this honestly, I didn't really play my best today. I hit a lot of bad shots and certainly left some out there. But I kept the ball in play off the tee, and none of my mistakes blew up into double bogeys or worse. So when you do that, you can still go out there and break 80. I hope that's encouraging for a lot of you who have far better swings than I. And in any case, you don't have to swing the club like Adam Scott to go out there and break 80.